Good luck.
Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Hollanda'nın eğitim sistemiyle bir adım önde olmanızı sağlayan Tilburg Üniversiteden Anka ve Ana bizlerle. Lütfen sorularınızı sağ alt köşede Questions bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Anka, the stage is yours now.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining this Tilburg University webinar. My name is Anka Costa. I'm part of the international team of Tilburg University and a former international student myself. I'm originally from Romania and I won't be alone today. I'm joined by my colleague Anna, who is... Anna, maybe you can introduce yourself actually.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ana. I am from Mexico, so a non-EU country. I also studied at Tilburg University. I did my bachelor's there. So, of course, Anka and I can not just answer questions about the university, but also about our own experiences individually. So, good to be here.
Indeed. I'm going to start sharing my screen now because we prepared a presentation for you. And we are going to start with a bit of an overview of our presentation today. So we're going to begin with studying in the Netherlands. Anna, please let me know in case the slides aren't showing, but I think that they should. We're going to talk a bit about Tilburg University, about the specifics of Tilburg University, the city of Tilburg as well. And then we're going to discuss about our offer in terms of bachelor's and master's programs, that taught in English ones, of course. We're going to continue with some practicalities related to admission and application, how to submit an application, what are the deadlines, what type of documents you need to submit, what is the type of national Turkish diploma that we accept, and we're going to wrap it up with some pieces of information about costs, about tuition fees, about scholarships, about monthly cost, visa cost, etc. And lastly, we're going to have a Q&A at the end. Now, during this presentation, I advise you, in case you have any questions, to post them in the chat, and we will answer them at the end. However, just as a beginning note, we designed this presentation to actually answer most of the questions that you have about studying in the Netherlands, about studying at Tilburg University. So it would be a good idea to also pay attention to this presentation. We aim to finish it in 25 minutes, half an hour maximum, and then we're going to have at least 15 or even 20 to 25 minutes to answer your questions. So it's going to be an interactive session in the second half of it. So let's begin. If you are joining this session, this means that you're interested in Tilburg University, but likely you already have taken a look at the Netherlands as a study destination. And I've been living in the Netherlands for a couple of years. As I said, me and Anna both have studied here. We are both previous international students at Tilburg University. And I can attest that the country has grown massively in popularity in the last couple of years as a study destination for international students. And there are a couple of key reasons why this happens. I'm just going to briefly touch upon some of them. Firstly, there is a high diversity of English taught programs. Cumulated Dutch universities offer more than 2,000 English taught programs. This means that you don't need to speak Dutch if you want to study any of these programs. And also the Netherlands statistically has one of the highest level of English for a non-native English-speaking country. So it's very easy to get around. Needless to say, we are advising our students to take Dutch classes. This will surely help them with either finding a part-time job or with the social interaction, even with finding housing sometimes might help if you speak the language. So once you are a student here, we do advise you to learn Dutch. However, it's not mandatory. So this is something maybe good to know in case you have a bit of anxiety thinking that you will be moving to a country which speaks a language that you don't. So as long as you're fluent in English, then you should have your experience covered. The Netherlands and Dutch universities also offer a good value for money. We offer competitive tuition fees for both EU and non-EU nationals compared to other countries such as UK or the US. The Netherlands also offers excellent and innovative education. All Dutch research universities, that include Tilburg University, are ranked in the top 250 best universities in the world. This puts the entire educational offer, higher education offer of the Netherlands in the top 250 best universities in the world. So there's quality that you get there, and maybe this brings a bit of peace of mind as well regarding the quality and the recognition of your diploma. So all Dutch research universities are fully accredited. The Netherlands is also one of the safest and happiest countries in the world statistically. Maybe the weather is, I would say that it's surely one of the downsides of the country, but otherwise the social system runs well. Public transportation system runs well. The criminality rate is very low. This country generally has highly educated, multilingual workforce, so that lots of expats as well that work in the Netherlands. So it's a good place to live outside of course, the studying part. If you're interested in studying in the Netherlands, you most likely have already, or you will come across these two terms of University of Applied Sciences and Research Universities. So I'm going to briefly explain what this means. There are two types of universities in the Netherlands. You have the research universities. These are the traditional universities, such as Tilburg University, Amsterdam, Groningen, Eindhoven University of Technology, Delft University, etc. There are 13 in total. And these offer bachelor's and master's degree. Generally, a bachelor's degree will take 3 years to complete, and it's often followed by a master's degree. And these type of universities have an academic approach. So they encourage analytical thinking. It's a bit more theoretical as well. And this is where you can study the traditional fields such as qualifying law degrees or engineering or medicine, for example, business, etc. Now, you also have the University of Applied Sciences, which offer quality education, but they do not offer academic education. They offer professional higher education, so more practically oriented, and they are designed to prepare the student for a job market right after graduation. They do offer 4 years bachelor's degree, and 1 year is most likely a mandatory internship within the University of Applied Sciences. And yeah, they focus on professional practice. So you might find some overlapping fields between the two types of institutions. So you can study business at University of Applied Sciences and at the University of Research, but the difference in approach is what counts here. So University of Applied Sciences are more practical, more professional oriented. This is where you can also study more vocational fields, such as arts, for example. You can study nursing here, whereas research universities are more academic. So I hope that was a comprehensive explanation. But if you do have questions or just unclarities, you can post them in the chat. About Tilburg University, we are located in the city of Tilburg. This is in the south of the Netherlands, as you will see it on your map. That circle right there, that area between Tilburg, Eindhoven, and Den Bosch, is known as the Silicon Valley of Europe, for those of you who maybe are unfamiliar with it. And this is due to the fact that this area registers yearly the highest number of patents filed, and it's also due to the research universities that do research in this area, such as Tilburg University and Eindhoven University of Technology, as well as the high-tech companies that reside in the area. Think about Philips, ASML, or Tesla. It's easy to travel from Tilburg to other cities in the Netherlands. So from Tilburg to Rotterdam, you will spend around 50 minutes by train. You'll be in Amsterdam in about 1 hour and 15. There's a flight from, for example, Amsterdam to London that's under 1 hour. A couple of weeks ago, me and Anna traveled together for an event to Paris, and we took a direct train from Rotterdam, and we were there in about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it's easy to travel not only inside the Netherlands, but also within Europe from the Netherlands. The city of Tilburg is a medium-sized city, so it has a bit over 200,000 inhabitants. I'm sure that, especially if you're maybe living in Istanbul or Izmir or Ankara, you're going to find this particular number as being a small village, likely. But for that standard, this is a medium-sized city. It's actually, Tilburg is the 7th largest city in the Netherlands. And the largest Dutch city is Amsterdam, which is about 800,000 inhabitants, just to give you a bit of a comparison here. Tilburg has about 28,000 students, which means that 1 in 7 students, in 7 residents is a student. So that brings the ratio of students as one of the highest in the country for Tilburg. I'm sure that some of you are asking this question, so let's address the elephant in the room. How is COVID-19 currently influencing the education in the Netherlands and at Tilburg University specifically? Maybe you should know that as of today, actually, most of the restrictions in the Netherlands have been lifted. Our university prefers offline education, so most of our courses take place offline on campus in the classroom, so physically, with the exception of a couple of courses that are streamed. So they are streamed online, and those are only the courses, the large courses where you would have to be in the same room, for example, with 200 students, in which case those courses would be online. But generally, we focus on on-campus education. Needless to say that we are following the regulations and the recommendations of the Dutch government in terms of health and safety, but this is what I can tell you at the moment. So the university has an offline campus focus, education focus, and the restrictions have been almost exclusively lifted in the Netherlands. Now, briefly, some key points about Tilburg University. We were founded in 1927 as a business school, and business and economics is actually one of our strongest profile. In the meantime, the university has added several other academic layers to its educational offer. Think about law programs, social and behavioral sciences, data science, digital sciences, artificial intelligence, communication, theology, and whatnot. We have 6 schools on one green compact campus. The university is a medium-sized university for Dutch standards, so we have a bit over 20,000 students and with more than 110 nationalities on campus, so it's a very international space. Now, some reasons that we identified as being strong influencing factors for students when they choose our university. I'm going to start with the strong focus on global issues that the university has, and it's actually underlined by our motto, Understanding Society. What does this mean? I'm sure that it sounds quite vague, so I'm going to try to explain it. This means that regardless of the type of program that you are studying, whether you're going for a social and behavioral sciences program such as psychology or international sociology, or whether you're studying a business-based program or maybe a digital sciences program, even a data science program, which is a very much computer-based, or maybe a communication program. So regardless of the academic field, you will always approach societal issues in the classroom, and using the skills that you learn and you develop throughout your studies, you will try to find solutions for those societal issues. So the university is very societal oriented. So you don't necessarily need to study public administration in order to learn how to give back to society. The university has a focus on developing entrepreneurial mindsets and responsible thinkers that will give back to the community that they are a part of. We also have a green and compact campus. All pictures that you see in this presentation are taken on our campus. We are one of the few Dutch universities that offer a compact campus. So what this means is that all buildings are at the same in the same campus, so you won't have to travel around the city in order to get to classes. The libraries on campus, there are several eating facilities on campus, public study spaces, individual study spaces. So in the library, for example, you can either study or work on group projects together with your colleagues. You can study in a silent area, or for instance, if you're preparing a presentation and you would like to practice a bit, then you can book an individual study room, for instance. Tilburg is also a leader in the fields of business, economics, psychology, and law, and we're going to briefly touch upon the rankings in the next section of this presentation. There are lots of opportunities for extracurricular activities. You can be part of study associations, so more program professionally oriented study associations. You can also be part of student associations that are more socially oriented, and that, for example, organize all sorts of events for both Dutch and international students. You can be a part of sport clubs, such as, for example, VIDAR, which is our rowing student association. There you can actually practice rowing. You can even take beginner classes. You don't necessarily have to go all the way to be a professional sportsman, but that's also a possibility. There's study counseling and support on campus that you can benefit from. There's a student desk that can help you with your administrative matters. There are program coordinators and advisors that can help you with, for instance, choosing your electives. For some programs, there are mentorship programs in place, which means that there are older students that can assist you with a topic that you might be struggling with. There's also a psychologist on campus that you can book an appointment with. So there is support there, and there is help if you need it. It's just that you have to do it the Dutch way, which is that you need to reach out when you want something. You need to ask for help, so you need to be proactive as well. There are some extra facilities on campus that you can benefit from. There's a career center that organizes career events throughout the year, and you can also schedule individual appointments with our colleagues from the career center, and they can help you with building your LinkedIn profile, your employee profile. They can help you orient a bit within the Dutch working market, professional market. There's a language center where you can take several language courses. Fun fact about Tilburg University, or maybe not necessarily fun, but good to know, is that each Tilburg University student gets 2 free language vouchers that they can use to either learn Dutch for free. I remember what I said at the beginning. Also, you can take Mandarin classes, you can take Spanish classes, French classes, Russian classes, also advanced English classes, so a series of languages there. And yeah, you can just take the opportunity and study and learn those languages for free. All right. I mentioned this international environment throughout the presentation. We are an international university, and this academic year, there are more than 4,000 international students enrolled at Tilburg University, coming from more than 110 countries around the world. So a very diverse space. On your screen, you will see just an overview of the main nationalities that we offer, that are present here at Tilburg University. But again, there are more than 100. And not only your colleagues will be international, but also your professors. So 40% of our lecturers come from abroad. I keep mentioning the international environment, also from a personal perspective and a personal experience. I can see the value in it. Studying in an international environment is not only enriching academically, which of course it is, because you get to debate matters and you get to listen to perspectives from people coming from different parts around the world, from a completely different background, which have a different view on policy matters, for example, on economics matters, and so on. So it's not only enriching academically, but also socially, because needless to say, you're going to make friends from all around the world. Further, the university is partnered with about 200 institutions from all around the world, where you could go and exchange in your 3rd year, for instance. And on your screen, you will see just a few examples of our most prominent exchange partners. But if you go to our webpage, to our exchange page, then you will find there the options that you can take in your 3rd year in your mobility window in case you want to go abroad, which is kind of a popular option for international students. I promise that we will briefly touch upon rankings and accreditation. I'm not going to delve a lot on this topic. You will see on your screen the main rankings. So we are ranked as number 28 in the world by Times Higher Education. Shanghai Global Rankings positions us on the 17th place in the world. QS World Rankings positions us as number 28 in the world in economics and econometrics, whereas in the Netherlands, we are ranked as the best university in those fields of economics and finance. If you want a full overview of our accreditation and as well as all of our rankings, you can go to our webpage or to these individual ranking systems. That was my part of the presentation, and my colleague Anna will take it over from here.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Anka. To everyone who wants to know more about the programs, what would you study? We're going to go first through the bachelor's program. Now, as we have mentioned before, I just wanted to reiterate, all bachelor's and masters are in English. And that is always such a good question. We have also very multicultural classrooms. That means that we have, not only will you see Dutch students in your English taught programs, but you will see people from all over the world. And the way that the Dutch education system works, especially with lecturers, is that it is very interactive. There's a mix of lectures and tutorials. The lectures, you will have them, depending on your program, it could be with around 200, 500 people, or even less than that. And then you'll have tutorials in which it's more focused to your program with maybe 20 people or so. It's much smaller scale in which you'll have more practical questions. You can have more help from the teacher's assistant, the professor, or so on. And so this is where you'll also be able to have groups of people, and that goes because most of the programs have group assignments, which will develop, of course, your team building skills, your interpersonal skills, and so on. We also have the binding study advice for the bachelor's only. And that means that we have that when you are in your 1st year, you need to have 42 credits at the end of the year as minimum to continue to your second year. And this will be something that, of course, you will get more informed about in your first year at the beginning of the year. So you don't have to worry about it right now. This is something for after. Anka, the next slide, please. Okay, great. So here are our bachelor programs. As you can see, we have them already categorized and more or less what you'll find. So, no, it's back. Okay, great. So for example, we have the business programs. So we have International Business Administration, Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation, which is a new program that is quite exciting, quite new. So it's unique in that sense that you'll find newer ways of learning for entrepreneurship. And then we have, of course, economics. So this is more for business type of programs. Then we have more quantitative, more mathematic heavy programs like cognitive science and artificial intelligence, data science, and econometrics and operations research. These, as I said, are very heavy in math. They're more for, the people who are very interested in doing more quantitative research. Then we have our social sciences like psychology, global management of social issues, international sociology, and human resource studies. All of these are studies, as Anka has said before, they're very rooted in social issues. So you will find a lot of society type of questions, trying to understand how what you're doing will give value back to society. Then, of course, we have global law, which is a unique program in itself. It is really good for a lot of students who want to have a more of an international perspective in law, who want to learn about different judicial systems in Europe and like the United States. It's quite unique. Then the online culture, art and media society, for the students who are very interested in understanding how social media is affecting us nowadays, how memes and all of these texts and language that we're now using is affecting society. We, of course, have a theology bachelor's degree, which is very unique because it is recognized by the Vatican. And then we have our university college, which means that we have a liberal arts and science. That means that we took from inspiration from the United States, where you have different tracks, different majors you can have while you take this bachelor's, and you can go into business, you can go into humanities. They're very different tracks, and while you figure out what you want to study. Next slide, please, Anka. Okay, well, now we're going to go into the master's program, and we have over 40 programs in the master's. If we include tracks, that would make them actually 60 programs. So it's a lot. They're generally 1 year. Of course, you can extend the time. You can make it into 2 years, and then that way you can maybe do an internship, or you can do a double degree in another master's program or another university, or you can do a research master's. That means that your master's would be more heavy and reliant on research. It's for people who want to go more into academia, who have that idea or path to do a PhD. Again, these are all English taught, so that's always good to reiterate. Next slide, please. Okay, well, as well, we have our business and management programs. Here, well, it's a lot of what we were saying from the bachelor's programs. It's our focus. We started with these back in the beginning, so we have quite a lot. I'm not going to go through each one of them because we have, as I said, over 60. So please look at them, and then we'll continue. Then we have the economics and econometrics. These are, again, very focused on math and quantitative research. So you understand. Then we have the communications, digital science, culture, and philosophy. So here we have things like new media design, communications sciences, psychology, just to name a few. And then we have law, and we have an array of programs. For example, law and technology is a very popular program. It's very recent, and it has been seen to really teach you about the future of law. Okay, and then we have, again, social and behavioral sciences, just as we have them in our bachelor's. Here we have, of course, way more specific masters, and depending on where your track is going, that can be from what you've chosen as a focus in psychology or in your other studies. And data science has 4 programs. So the last program, as you can see, the Masters of Data Science and Society, are for those students who actually wanted to get into data after their bachelor's, but you could have a background in something else, social sciences, business, and it closes that gap that from social sciences to become a data scientist. And the rest, of course, you do need that background of data science. And again, we have our master's in theology for furthering your understanding of Christianity. Then here we have, as I had mentioned, going the extra mile. So I mentioned that you could do a double degree, an extended master's, or go into the QTAM program. You could, of course, do study in a partner university to get a dual degree, or you can do an internship to obtain an extended master's. This is only for the social sciences or the management TISM school of faculty. And then they have the QTAM, which is for the TISM students as well. This is the management faculty. It is a mix of both, so it's very quantitative. So it's for those who want to do both an internship program and an international study. Now the next slide. Okay. So after your graduation, there is the opportunity to stay in the Netherlands, which is something so important for students who already go abroad to study. You have the search year visa, and it's 1 year that you get to look for a job in the Netherlands. And this is limitless. So you don't have to apply, or the employer doesn't have to apply for a work permit for you. You can work as many hours. You're no longer limited to only a certain hours as an international student. On average, the graduates will find a job within 3 months after graduation, which is very important to mention for those of you who need or want to work as soon as possible and stay in the Netherlands. You also have the opportunity in the end of your year as a thesis. This is for, of course, master students to do your thesis with a multinational company. And also, can you go back, please? Yeah, and also you might be wondering, so what kind of career services does the university have? So you will be able to go into workshops that have about LinkedIn, that look into your curriculum vitae, that maybe go over your motivation letter. It also gives you interview skills, building those skills, and practice. So of course you will be prepared to go into a job market. Please, okay, now the next slide, please, Anka. Okay, so now we're going to talk about admissions and the application. Okay, so Tilburg University accepts most European Union diplomas, but also for other diplomas, if you did the IB diploma and you graduate with an over score of 24 points, that's accepted. The American high school diploma is also accepted, as long as you have 4 relevant AP subjects with a score above 3. And that is also relevant to what you're going to choose to study. We have A levels, so at least 3 A levels in general, with a grade between A and C. Oh, also 3 GCSE subjects with, again, the same type of grades. We also have a list of the most common accepted diplomas if you want to look into our website, but we did already make an overview for the Turkish diploma. This is for the bachelor's requirement. So there's a lise diploma, And you have to have an overall GPA with the diploma Puani of 80 on your diploma. For specific programs, like I had talked about before, the mathematic, quantitative heavy, and also more economic type of programs, you do need to achieve at least an 80 for mathematics. And as you can see here, you can see the list of those programs. So if you're interested in those, you need to take that into account, that the math requirement is higher. For students like who want to go into econometrics, you do not need to achieve the 80, but complete the AP Calculus exam. If it's not available, always please contact us, contact the university for any of those questions related, more specific to the math requirements. And then we do have to say that the data science bachelor's is not does not accept the LISA diploma. Can we, there you go. So there's some additional bachelor's requirement. We have the English language proficiency. So you do need to send us a document from the academic yields, the TOEFL or the Cambridge exams that say that you have passed them with these minimum grades that we present here. So you have to have an overall in the yields of 6, minimum of 5.5 on parts, the TOEFL a minimum of 80, and the Cambridge you can have either a C1 advanced or C2 proficiency. For certain programs like global law, you do need a higher score. I already talked about the mathematic requirements, so we'll just skip that. So what happens if your diploma that you have acquired in your school is not equivalent to what we have just discussed? So what your options then are that you can complete 1 year of academic education in your home country in which you pass all of your courses. That means you can do 1 year of university in your home country. And then after you have passed everything, you can, besides other additional requirements that you might need, you could apply again to Tilburg University. You can complete 1 year of University of Applied Sciences. And again, this is what we call a propedeuse certificate. It is just to make sure that you have completed this year. And it will be the same. You might need more additional requirements, but you can, again, apply for Tilburg University. Or you can go to the foundation year, which is offered in Amsterdam. It's a way which you can just come already to the Netherlands and apply for this foundation year and stay in Amsterdam, and then follow any of the programs you see listed here after. Now we'll go into the master's admission requirements. So you will need a relevant bachelor's degree for the program you want to apply for. You can see more information about this in the program you're interested in. It will say which are some relevant bachelor's degree. You will also have to do, again, an English language proficiency with the same tests that we mentioned from the bachelor's. And some additional requirements will be dependent on the program. So it could be dependent on economics. You might require the GRE exam, or for business, you will require the GMAT exam. So also take into consideration that when I did talk about the research masters, which is, of course, if you want to go more into academia, to aspire to do a PhD, a doctor's degree, then there are higher requirements, and the selection for these masters is done on a case-by-case basis. So we also have partners for the School of Economics and Management. Some of our partners that if you have a degree, a relevant degree, of course, from one of these partner universities, then you are exempted from taking the GMAT test. Here are the lists of those universities. I am not going to say them because I am afraid I will butcher the way they're set. So please take a look so you know if you are eligible to be exempted from the GMAT requirement from obtaining your bachelor's degree there. So how to apply? Actually, applying is quite simple. It's a very simple process. You will first have to register for the program of your choice in StudyLink. Here you can see the website. This is because this is a government website that from the Netherlands, in which you will send the program you're interested in. Once you do that, all you have to do is wait, and the university will send you an email to the email you registered with in StudyLink to upload your application in the application system of Tilburg University called Osiris. And then, of course, it's really important to check the website to make sure you have all of the admissions requirements, and of course, know your deadlines for whichever you're doing a bachelor's or a master's. Know your deadlines. We really recommend students to apply as soon as you know, because we have a rolling admissions, and that means that as soon as you know you want to go, as soon as you apply, you will know if you are accepted, if you have positive advice or negative advice really quickly. So it's really important to do that, and don't wait too late. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the costs. This is always a very important question, so we'll get through this. So these are the tuition fees for the coming academic year. This will depend, of course, on what passport holder you hold. So please take a look. It can be between 2,200 euros to 14,900 euros per year. So do make sure you choose the passport depending on which one you have, whereas it's within the European Union or not in the European Union. And then we can talk about some estimated cost of living. Accommodation, this is really varies depending on where you choose to stay. It can be between 350 euros to 700 euros. This can depend if you're living in a shared house or if you live in a studio alone. So of course, it is different per person. Depends on your budgeting, of course, that including food, drinks, transportation. This will depend on a case-by-case basis, but we have seen around 300. And then depending on your program and what you'll need on your courses, books is always something to consider, as well as your insurance, which you should take out when coming to the Netherlands. Then we have some unique costs, of course. If you need a visa to come study to the Netherlands, it depends on the person. It will be around 192 euros. Secondhand bicycles. So we bike everywhere. You will need a bike. Of course, there's public transportation, but having a bicycle, it is the best decision for getting around the city. And if you want to do some sports, get active while you're studying here, these are also something you could take into consideration. Can we go to the next slide, please? So housing. So housing is not offered by the university, and there is a high demand for student housing in Tilburg, so it is difficult. And this is something that we always tell students. You want to come to Tilburg University, it is important for you to look for housing several months in advance. Don't wait for summer to start looking for housing. This is something that is really important to repeat to prospective students, to start looking for a place to stay immediately. Here you can see that we have a link that will give you some recommendations, some tips on how the housing officer can help you. There's a guide on where to look. We do have some partner organizations that have buildings in Tilburg that we reserve housing for international students, but this is on a first come, they first get that room. So please make sure to look for housing immediately. Next slide, please. Scholarships. So we only have scholarships for master's program. Of course, you can look for private scholarship depending where you're coming from, and that is also accepted. But for the master's program, we have the Orange Tulip Scholarship and the Holland Scholarship. Those for outstanding students enrolling in the master's program, and that will depend on how you did in your bachelor's. Always please be sure to check out the website where we put the more information, because we cannot tell you specifically what are the requirements, what are the way you can apply, because these are individual organizations of those scholarships. However, for the ones that are from Tilburg University that we offer are the Global Partner Scholarships and the Research Master Scholarship. So master students who come from a partner university will receive a tuition fee waiver of 25%. And if you want to go into the Research Masters, which I have mentioned, then there is a tuition fee waiver for non-EU students admitted to the Research Masters, which is also a very good option. Next slide, please. We also would love for you to recommend that if you go into the scholarship website, you will see specific scholarships for Turkish students. So that is the end of the presentation. We really recommend you to see our webinars that go more into housing, for example. That is a really important webinar if you have more questions about it or want to know more information. And we'll have also the open day for bachelor students in March 19th. And for master students, we'll also have the same type of webinars, application and housing, and the open day will be on April 9th. Okay. I see that we have a lot of questions now, so we'll go through them.
Yes, indeed. I see that most of them are in Turkish, actually, so maybe Zeynep can help us with the translation, or
well, they've been translated all the way at the end. If you scroll down.
Okay.
Thank you for translating. So we'll start from all the way down, I think.
I cannot see them translated. Can you see them translated?
Yes. Yeah, I'll just start with them. So The first question is, do we need to get an AP exam to apply for Tilburg University?
Okay, I can answer this question. So it depends on, oh, sorry, I think my connection dropped for a second there. So, and now I can see the questions too. So you need an AP exam if you are studying an American curriculum. So if you're studying an American high school diploma, then you need at least 4 APs in order to be directly accepted or directly eligible for our bachelor's programs. And if you are studying a Turkish diploma, the only time that an AP would be necessary, so mandatory, would be to apply for our econometrics and operations research program, and you would need an AP calculus there and at least 80 points on your mathematics exam. So depending on your diploma, the answer is it depends, but also yes. Okay, next question. Next question is in Turkish. So how about this? Are there any fee-less universities in Holland? Not that I know about. Like free universities, Anna? I don't think.
Free universities? No, not that I know about. The universities are, even for Dutch students and for European students, they do have a cost.
Okay, then I see another question here. I'm a student at a high school that offers double language IB program in German and English. Do I need to show IELTS exam results, and should I take biology high level and also mathematics high level for applying for a psychology with an IB diploma? Anna, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. So you do not, well, it's on a case-by-case basis, but for the IB diploma, if you take English A, and so not as a second language, then that you are exempted from the English language proficiency test. And then specifically for psychology, that depends on which, if you could put in the chat which mathematics you're taking, because there are different types of math subjects, then I can help you better. However, for the biology, exam, you do not need biology higher level. for it. There's no requirement specific on biology, only on the math requirements. So if you could tell us, or we can also just tell you all of the mathematics for psychology, then I can also do that. For math in psychology, you need to have either the mathematics analysis and approaches higher level or standard level, or the applications and interpretation higher level, standard level.
So pretty much any math level.
Any math.
Yeah, if it's standard or higher. So it's a bit easier for psychology because the main rule is to take math classes up to your final year of high school. So that will assure your eligibility. So as my colleague Anna said, all of these, even math studies, that was before the new curriculum, that one was accepted too. Is it enough to have a bachelor's degree in English to be accepted in a master's degree? No. To be accepted into a master's degree, you need to have a relevant bachelor's degree. So the logic is quite simple. If you want to study a law master's degree, then you need to have either a LLB, so a bachelor's in laws, or at least 90 credits in law. If you want to study a finance master's degree, then you need a bachelor's degree where you took math classes, quantitative classes, statistics, some finance classes, etc. So that's how you decide your eligibility. Ooh, a question, maybe Anna, you can answer this. What is your favorite thing about Tilburg University? I can answer it too, but you're a fresher graduate.
Okay, yeah. All right. So what I really like about Tilburg University, I think the community you make in Tilburg University, so your friends. I had so many, well, of course, acquaintances, but I knew so many people of different faculties, different programs, but also the friends you make within your own program. So what's good about Tilburg University is that there are quite a lot of events where you get to know people that are not just in your own bubble. So there's associations for international students, there's associations that have events that are about anything you could be interested in. And you can really create a whole network of friends depending on their interest. So I think that was my favorite thing about Tilburg University. Of course, this is not program related, but it's just the thing that I will always remember the most, and the things that even as a graduate, all my friends from the university who are still here in the Netherlands, we still meet up. It's easy to get from one city to another city, so you can see them. It's not like it's impossible to go from the north to the south in under 2 hours. So that is one of the things I love about Tilburg University.
Yeah, I can attest to that, actually, just the international environment. And I also liked, because I'm coming from Romania, where I studied my bachelor's degree in my high school, my entire life in Romania before studying at Tilburg University. And you'll find there more of a patriarchal relationship between professors and students. And one of the biggest cultural shocks when I arrived here was to see how laid back professors are. I studied my master's here, and how they prick your brain and they treat you like you're equal. Basically, you are encouraged to give your opinion. You are encouraged to contradict the professor, which was not something that I had been experiencing in my previous education. So that was also nice. Somebody's asking what are the requirements for masters, but this question was asked before. I can see that it was at 2:25, so it was before we actually discussed about the requirement for masters. So you need a relevant bachelor's degree, you need an English proficiency test, and key documents such as your motivation letter, your grades, your CV. Sometimes for some other programs, you'll need to submit an academic essay or a sample of your bachelor's degree. Other programs will have an interview, so it really depends per program. You can always see that and determine it on our webpage.
Yes, make sure to check which program you're interested in, and then you will see the requirements more specific than what we can say in the website.
Yes, absolutely. How many points should I get if IELTS is required? This was already discussed, but we can repeat it. So it's either a minimum of average of 6 for bachelor's programs and about 6.5 for master's programs.
And then the next one is, what is the ratio to find an occupation in a 1-year period? I'm not sure if I 100% understand this question. Do you mean how easy or how hard it is to find an occupation that within a year? Well, as we said, for master students who have graduated, it is an average of 3 months to find work to be hired. So I think that was the question. I hope I answered it sufficiently. If not, please resend this question.
Okay.
Oh, and this is just about the IELTS question that they were asking about masters. So we've answered that.
Do I have to take any AP exams to study psychology in Tilburg University? There isn't a mandatory subject for psychology. The rule is that you need to have math courses up to your final year of high school.
Yes.
Is there a minimum requirement for the GRE or GMAT for master admission procedure? Yes, for GMAT is 550. If I'm not mistaken, it's 160 for GRE on the quantitative part. I hope that I've given the right answer. Otherwise, if you are interested in any master program at Tilburg University that requires GRE and GMAT, and if you go to application webpage, you will see there at the section, which is very well highlighted, GRE or GMAT, you will see the minimum there. But I think I remember correctly.
Could you please? Oh,
go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, could you please let us know about scholarships? So we did in the presentation, there are the partner university scholarships. If you did your bachelor's in any of the partner universities of Tilburg University, you do get a tuition fee waiver of 25%. If you go and do a research master's and you of course get accepted, then you do get a tuition fee waiver. And then there's also the scholarships that are specific for Turkish students that are in the website of Tilburg University / scholarships. There you'll find more information for Turkish students. And there's also the Holland scholarship for excellent students who did very well in their bachelor's. More information about the requirements for that scholarship specifically is in the website of that scholarship. So we cannot really answer many questions about that scholarship since it's not from Tilburg University specifically. Anka, do you have anything to add?
Not really, no. So the scholarship, the webpage is a good way to start because that's where you'll find whether you're eligible or not, as well as all the information about submitting an application, the conditions that you need to meet to get a scholarship and so on. So I would start with the research there.
I also just sent the direct link to the scholarships in the chat in case anybody wants to look at that. Okay. How much does the program on digital marketing as a master's cost for a non-EU with the regular life expenses, for instance? Okay, so the tuition fees, I think you're referring to so all of them are, as we had said, on the maximum of, I think, 14,000 euros, around that. But if I can be more specific to the tuition fee for a master's degree. 1 second. Or Anka, do you know exactly how much the non-EU
Yeah, it's about 15,000 euros. Yes,
so 15,000 euros.
15,000 euros for 1 year. So this is the general tuition fee. I think it's 14,900, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, 14,900. That is correct.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Yes. That is without the regular life expenses. So hope that answered your question. What is the tuition fee waiver as a term for non-EU for research? Can I work in the meantime of studying? So I'll first answer the first question, which I think is, what does it mean that there's a tuition fee waiver for the research master's? So, and that means that as a non-EU student coming to do the research master's, then you, how do I say this? Then you don't have to pay the non-EU tuition fee. So it would be reduced into into what a European student would pay for the research master's tuition fee. I hope that answers your question. And then, can you work in the meantime of studying? If you're doing a research master's, I wouldn't really recommend you working at the same time as doing a research master's, because as I said, this is a very heavy program. It's a lot of work than a regular master's. So, I mean, of course, you can find work in the city as, in the restaurant or cafe. So it is possible for you to find work that once if the restaurant or cafe is willing to apply for a work permit for you. Mm-hmm. However, I don't think I would recommend it if you're doing a research master's.
It's very intense indeed. And as a non-EU student, you're also allowed to work for a maximum of 16 hours per week. I don't know if you mentioned this, Anna. If you did, apologies for the repetition. So this is something that you have to consider as well. There are actually two options. So either you work for 16 hours per week, or you work full-time during the summer. So you have either this or that. And you have to consider this as well.
Yes. Next question. It is not the topic of the webinar, but it's still worth offering PhD education.
Yes, it does. So we do have several, well, all our schools do research, post-academic research. So the PhDs are offered by our graduate schools. What you should know is that in the Netherlands, generally, when you are doing a PhD at the university, you're also an employee of the university compared to the UK, for example, where you are a student. So this means that if you do an internship at Tilburg University, you're either doing it with a full scholarship from Tilburg University, if I can call it a scholarship. What it actually means is that you will be working for Tilburg University, so you get paid. You can be an assistant professor, researcher, depending on what the vacancies are. So when you apply for a PhD, you basically apply for a vacancy for a job. And another way is to get a scholarship, an external scholarship. If you go to our graduate web pages, if you just Google, for example, Tilburg University PhDs, then you will find a list of the schools that offer that, and the vacancies are posted there as well.
Okay, great. There's another question, which is the same question we had. Any AP exam to study psychology?
We answered the question two times, I think, 3 times.
Yeah, but forgot to be precise that they are doing a diploma from a French high school. So I'm guessing you're getting a French degree or a European baccalaureate. There's actually more information on that one.
For sure. Yeah, because there aren't any APs available with the French diploma. So let's put it this way, Zeynep. If you're obtaining a French diploma, so you need to pass the French baccalaureate, and we accept the diploma de baccalaureate général, or the OIB one, so the IB optional one, the English one. And for psychology, you need to take mathematics as an examination subject in the final year, but it doesn't necessarily have to be complémentaire or spécialité. So you just need to take math up to your final year of high school. I hope that this answers your question. I'm not familiar with APs being part of the French curriculum. I'm quite sure about it. So the answer would be no if you are getting a French bac diploma. If you are not getting it, then I'm a bit confused. But let's see, maybe you can answer, maybe you can give us more details so that we can make a fair assessment.
Yeah. Then the next question, how is Tilburg as a city? And what is the worst part of Tilburg University or the city?
Ooh, tricky cool question.
Well, Tilburg as a city. So I live in Tilburg. I've lived here since the beginning of my bachelor's, which was in 2018. Basically, the city, what makes the city cool and active are the students. That is for sure. You'll always find that every day of the week, there is something to do. This is, of course, more post-COVID. Can't say that that's the same during COVID, but, hopefully things will be different. But this is a very... this is an answer based on pre-COVID life and hopefully post-COVID life. There's always something to do each night. There's a bunch of activities organized by students, depending on your interest. So, for example, charity associations will have a charity event. The sports associations may be having training and then go to the sports centers, bar to have drinks after. You know, there's always something to do. I don't think it is that is something that you as a student will be able to have. Worst part about the city, I would say, is that it is a little bit ugly. In comparison to the rest of the Netherlands, which have more canals, then, Tilburg is seen to not have as much of that. Of course, we have a beautiful canal, but we only have one. Bioshaven is beautiful, but we only have one canal, and it's beautiful to walk there. There's a bunch of nature, and there's a forest, which is very different to other cities that don't have a forest. We have a forest, and that is cool. But, we have more buildings, more industrial. So Tilburg is an industrial city. So you don't get the typical traditional canal lifestyle. So that is my opinion, the worst part about it, is that you don't get that. Of course, you can find that if you just go 20 minutes in the train and then you go to Den Bosch or Breda, you'll find it there. But, as the city, it's not really.
Yeah,
the worst part about
Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, it's different from Amsterdam. So maybe your traditional view of how a Dutch town will look like, it's not what Tilburg looks like. So maybe it'll actually look more like what you're used to. And the worst part of Tilburg University, it's a good question. That's a tricky question.
I can
Do
answer.
you want to answer that?
Absolutely. I would answer my least favorite part about the Netherlands in general, which is the weather. This is what I struggled with the most, and the fact that there isn't much sun, especially in the winter. So it took me a while to adjust to it, but I decided to stay here for a couple of years, and I'm still here. I'm not planning to leave anytime soon because it's such a good country to live in. Regarding the city of Tilburg, I actually liked it. So I think that Anna has lived in different parts of the world. She studied in a sort of international environment. She got to live in multiple cities, but I lived in Bucharest for 5 years beforehand. And Tilburg for me was a breath of fresh air. So indeed is a bit different from other Dutch cities, other typical Dutch cities with the canal passing the city center, for example. We have an area that's called Bioshaven, where you have the traditional canals. But indeed, Tilburg is an industrial city. And just to make sure, so when we say that it's an industrial city, this means that it has a strong textile industry, but that doesn't mean that you'll see factories in the city center. So that's not, or factories in the city anyways. They are, that you don't see them. They are not part of the residential areas. So it's indeed a bit, I would say, just a smaller city compared to the cliche of Amsterdam. But it's also more quiet, more community-based type of lifestyle. And as I said, for me, it was a breath of fresh air to live in such a green city. So quiet and also so clean. It was so peculiar in the beginning. It was a cultural shock to move from Bucharest, if any of you ever visited that place, and then move to the small Dutch beautiful city of Tilburg with greenery everywhere, and the streets are clean and people are very well behaved. So I found it a bit quiet as well. I struggled with that in the beginning, but then I emerged into the international student life, got to know the people there, and started having fun. But surely, like Anna said, Dutch cities generally are different. So, for example, I live in Rotterdam now, and this is a very industrial city. This is an industrial city, actually. So you'll see taller buildings and factories and more of an urban vibe. Amsterdam is out of this world. Dutch people say that Amsterdam is not the Netherlands, and I agree with that. It's just a different country inside a country in a way. Whereas Utrecht and Leiden, for example, are more traditional cities. So the Netherlands is a small country, but you're going to find a diversity of architecture and city styles general. So I think the question is regarding the city, are you looking for a big metropolitan city? Because then Tilburg is not for you. Maybe you should orient, I mean, you cannot even find that in the Netherlands, but maybe, let's say, Amsterdam would be a better fit, or Rotterdam. I liked it a lot. And this is the feedback that generally we receive from students regarding the peacefulness of Tilburg. And how
that is very true.
Yeah. And also
I agree with Anka.
Yeah, but it's I moved to Rotterdam for a reason, right? After a while, I started to grow out of it. But for my student experience, and also I saved a lot of money by living in Tilburg, since I was biking from the dorm to the university, so I didn't have to really spend money on transportation. And housing is also cheaper compared to other major cities in the Netherlands. So the further away that you go from Amsterdam, the cheaper housing will become as much as possible. And Anna mentioned this in her presentation when she had a breakdown of the cost of the living cost. The main cost of your regular month will actually go towards housing.
Yeah, and don't expect the same prices of 350 euros of a room in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague. Like that is winning the lottery in those cities. Well, here it is quite, the norm, like between 350, 500 euros. That's like pretty normal. And paying something like 600 euros and 700 euros or even a little bit more, it's considered, oh, you live in a studio, like alone, but yeah, that's not something. 700 euros is probably living in a small room in Amsterdam with 4 other roommates. Then that's crazy. It's great to live here and save that money. Okay, let's go to the next one. What are the opportunities about internship as a sociology master student here? So I don't know specifically for the master's. I know for the bachelor's internships, so there are internship possibilities. Of course, this is something you do by yourself. You independently look for internship opportunities unless you have the extended master's. But I think the extended master's is, one second, I need to check that. The extended master's, Anka?
Yeah, what about
is for TISM and for what other master's degrees?
So you can study I'm going to check now. So you can study extended masters in our School of
and TSB.
Humanities, Humanities, Digital Sciences, TSB, and TISM as well. So either for business, communication, digital culture studies, and social and behavioral sciences. If you go to our master's webpage, you are able to filter actually all the research masters. So you'll find the complete list there.
Yeah, but you were asking about the internship. So bachelor's program, I know that some internship opportunities have been, for example, in NGOs or more governmental organizations. But for the master's degree, the good thing about it is that in the extended master's, you can do a junior traineeship in English. And it will be done in the Netherlands. And during this traineeship, you can dedicate half your time to your research projects and half the time to the master's thesis, which you will hopefully be able to do this with your traineeship organization. So that is, and then it will be done with a partner organization. So that this is different from the bachelor's, when this means that you will be able to do your traineeship, your junior traineeship with any of the partner organizations. I can send you a link. I'll look for it quickly for this. Meanwhile, we can go for the next question.
I think that was the last one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and indeed for the extended master's program, sorry, I understood research in the beginning. You can apply for this after you got accepted. So the way that it goes in both TISM, so TISM is the Tilburg School of Economics and Management, and TSB, which is the Tilburg School of Social and Behavioral Sciences, you will be announced by your program coordinator or one of your professors about these options to extend your master's programs, and then you need to apply for this extension. Please mind that for some of them, you need to have a certain grade in the first semester. So there are some conditions, especially when you're going for QTEM or for these prestigious networks that imply maybe a double degree at another university or a traineeship, then there are some conditions there. So there might be influenced by your performance within your program at Tilburg University. But if Anna shares that, the website is a very good tool of information.
Yeah.
And we are done with the question, and also 9 minutes over time. It was, of course, nice to see that you stuck with us, guys, and you were so active in the chat.
Yes, thank you so much. Good questions as well.
Yeah, indeed. We thank you for your attention. And if you have more questions, you can always get back to us, fill out our contact form on the webpage. Highly advisable to attend our open days. They are free of charge events, which you can use as an information tool, as a comparative tool, especially if you're interested in multiple programs. So yeah, you can talk to current professors, current students of the program, your program of interest. So it's really a sneak peek into the university. Bachelor's Open Day takes place on March 19. Master's Open Day takes place on April 9th. And for the application webinars for bachelor's programs, if there are still bachelor's prospective students in this group, we have a webinar in 50 minutes actually about submitting your application, about the documents that you need to submit your application. So it's only about this process, about how to improve your chances of getting accepted. We explain some terminology there, such as what is a certified translation, etc. And there will be a Q&A at the end. You can still register for it. So it starts in 50 minutes. Just go to our webpage, look for application webinar for bachelor's programs. And yeah, if you are joining us there, then we're both going to be in the chat. Actually, another colleague of ours will do that presentation.
Yeah, be sure to look for it in the Tilburg University website. It was great to meet all of you.
Indeed, thank you for joining us. And Zeynep, I'm gonna leave it up to you to, I don't know if you want to wrap it up or.
Yes, thank you very much for the great presentation, Anka and Anna. It was very informative for the attendees, and you covered all of the questions. We had a lot of questions. Thank you for your answers too.
Of course.
Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. Tilburg Üniversitesi ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için chat kısmında paylaşılmış olan linkten Anka ve Anna'ya ulaşabilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda linkleri incelemenizde faydalı olacaktır. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Herkese iyi hafta sonları. Thank you very much again, you guys. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
Likewise. Thank you for having us. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.